What's up, guys? Lisa here, and welcome back to Stereotherapy. As always, I'll have my wonderful Justine right here with me. If it's your first time here, we are a podcast that showcases the importance of music and mental health. Oftentimes, Justine and I will share our stories, but today we have a wonderful guest to share her story with us. We got to chat with the wonderful Genevieve Moore, vocalist of Soul Meets Body, hailing from Baltimore, D.C. area. They are such a great band and such a unique and fresh sound in this genre that oftentimes people can be lumped together, but Soulmate's Body truly stands alone. We chat with Genevieve about her love of music, her journey in her own mental health, what's been going on with Soul Meets Body, and what we can do as a scene to make it more accessible and safe for all. Remember, if you are liking what you are hearing here, remember to share, like, and subscribe to our podcast. You can do that anywhere you are currently listening to this right now, and it would mean a lot to Justine and I. You can also leave a rating for us, 1 star or 5 star. Obviously, 1 star if you hate it, 5 star if you love us. We don't care. Go ahead and leave what you like. And you can also head over to our website at www.stereotherapypod.com. And you can also listen to the podcast there, read our podcast blogs, and check out all that cool stuff. And really quick, we wanted to put out a little disclaimer that when we recorded this, and we recorded this before the allegations against Lizzo came to light. All three of us don't condone that behavior and just wanted that known and out there that this was recorded before all of that came to light. All right, are you ready to meet Genevieve? I know you are. I'm ready for you to meet her as well. Here is our conversation with Genevieve Moore of Soul Meets Body. What, if you can remember, what is your first memory of falling in love with music?
Oh, okay. So my parents met doing musical theater, and I am the result of a very weird theater family. And I think one of the first times I was like really stoked on music was when I think my older brother left like his Walkman, and I was like, cool, I'll use it. And I had to have been maybe like 8 or 9, and I put the headphones on, and I think I don't remember what musical was on it, but I remember just like being so immersed in that moment, just sort of being with myself, listening to that musical on those headphones in the doctor's office one day. Was just like that moment that really got me. My dad's also a music teacher, so I've always been around music and all different kinds of genres. And obviously my family's into musicals, but like my dad kind of got me into like classic rock, and then my mom was more into like 80s pop and things along those lines. So yeah.
Oh, I love that. I'm so similar where I mean, I know how I got into music was my mom. My parents, I mean, it was always in our house, no matter what, in the car. I still have visions of my mom with like Alanis Morissette, like singing it. Jagged Little Pill came out and she's just like singing it and then growing up and now appreciating it. It's like, wow. I remember being like my mom would turn around and sing to me and I'm like, that's what molded this, this is what this is.
I remember my mom telling me when she was a teenager that she saw Queen for like $10 or something. And back
Wow.
in like the 70s and 80s, I don't know. I don't know what that was then, but like I think about
Right.
that because Queen is probably one of my favorite classic rock bands. And it was kind of a full circle moment. It was super cool for me.
Oh, that's so awesome. Oh, I know. I think about when I was watching the Queen movie, when I was watching, oh God, I can't remember the title of it.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
That, thank
Mhm.
you. But that one, and just to be there during that time, like, yes, listening to it, loving Queen, but that time, like being my age now, like appreciating that, how cool would that have been to be like during that time and like seeing it and feeling it and oh, just so
For
much.
real. For real. I also remember going to see that movie in theaters because I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a super big moment for me too. Something that I also remember, like when I was in high school, the Beatles movie came out. Across the
Oh,
Universe.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was in show choir at the time, and we did a Beatles medley. And like just for like a whole year, me and all my friends were just singing Beatles songs. So it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, we both, Justine and I
Oh,
both, yeah, across the universe for
yeah.
sure. Like that's,
We just talked about that the other day.
Really?
And yeah. And plus, I have a Queen tattoo. I have Freddie Mercury's handwriting on my arm. So
Gosh. Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Like,
So when that movie came out, it was a big deal for me too. It came out on my birthday, and I was like, "That's all I want to do." And
right.
I was like hooting and hollering in like the in the aisles, like, yeah. Yeah.
Totally. And sometimes like when I'm out at shows, like in my area, I'll run into like people younger than me, and I'll be talking to them about like, classic rock or old punk rock or something. And they'll ask me like, "Oh, maybe I should get into that band." And honestly, most of the time I'm like, to be so for real with you, man, like all of these dudes that like were famous like 40, 50 years ago have turned into trash men.
Yeah.
So like I
Yeah.
don't feel like you have to like prove yourself. But Queen is one of those bands that I consistently go back to. Not that I think Freddie was totally perfect, but like
Yeah.
he's one of like the more pure people in the rock community for sure.
oh,
Absolutely.
yeah, I know, Justine, when we were recording the other day, we were talking about that when she did her solo and, how the Smiths are huge for her. And she was like, look, I know Morrissey. And like, I loved what you said, Justine, in it. When I was listening to
Yeah.
it back, I was like, yes, we need more people like, just like yourself, Genevieve, like being like, oh, some of these people, like holding them accountable, like,
Yeah.
hey, maybe they make great music, but there's a lot going on there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are like shitty people making great music all the time.
Oh
Yes.
So
yeah.
like it's a bummer when you find out, like music that resonates with you like was made by someone who sucks. But I also like I think there's a way that you can listen to that and not like continue to put money in their pockets. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you can thrift their stuff from other people, you can buy it off of someone else. If you have like something physical that you bought from someone else that you're not putting money in their pocket, I think that's a great way for you to like still enjoy it and still have your moment, but still not support the artist.
Yeah. I think that's a great way of putting it. I
I
think that's like a huge struggle for a lot of people.
For sure, for sure. I mean, there's a few bands that I can think of at like the top of my head that was like kind of rough for me, or like artists like for example, like Panic at the Disco, learning about
Yeah.
all of that fiasco and all just like a whirlwind of horse shit, honestly.
yeah.
Um, but I have a physical copy of Pretty Odd, which is honestly my favorite Panic record. But I think it's because of Ryan Ross ultimately.
hmm
Where is he? What's he doing?
Exactly, right? Oh, I agree. Yeah.
For sure, for sure.
Oh, no, we actually talked about it in an episode a little bit because we were bringing up our 20-year albums, and a band for me that was hard was Brand New. I loved Brand New. I met my fiance from loving Brand New, but when all that came out and it was that struggle of, do I listen to this? I mean, I had this huge connection to it. I mean, I wouldn't be engaged to who I am without it, but I can't ignore everything in between. And Justine was great with like, hey, you know what? That's okay. And I love what you just said. So someone else, like, I
Yeah.
think that's great. And that's something we didn't even talk about or think of, that a way
Yeah.
you could. So I love that.
I also think about how like the if you spend your own individual time doing something and listening to an artist, I think that's one thing,
Mhm.
especially if it's an artist that's like controversial. But like if you are actively promoting and pushing and making this artist seem like godlike, then
Yeah.
I don't think that's cool. I think those are totally two different things. And the unfortunate reality is like this is not just an artist thing. This is a like world universal thing. This happens all the time, and I think that we sort of get into our heads like, oh, this is just the music industry, when that's just not true. It's
Yeah.
happening all over, all around. I think we've seen like multiple like actors like who was it that just like all that stuff came out about? Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill,
Yes.
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 Yeah.
We've had
Well,
quite the discussions about Jonah Hill recently.
Yes.
yikes. Huge yikes.
Mhm.
And how
Yeah.
he like was weaponizing sort of therapy talk and all that
Mhm.
jazzy Meduda. But like this isn't just a
Yeah.
music industry thing. This is unfortunately a patriarchy thing. So we need to
Mhm.
think about it how do we heal? How do we, we can like, music that artists make, but I personally I don't feel good putting money into the pocket of someone that's going to be shitty.
Yeah.
No, 100%. And I know a big reason how we even found you was TikTok. And I know
Mhm.
Justine's going to get into, she has a question too, for sure, that she had, which was so awesome, Justine, by the way. You were so amazing when she was like, check out Soulmate's
Yeah,
body.
I'm just like, oh my gosh, I was like, we need to get this girl on because, oh my gosh, I love your TikToks.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I've been taking a little bit of a break, but I think that's normal. That happens. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
why don't you share with me your question? Let's talk about it.
Okay, so with the music industry forever changing, what is your take on TikTok as a platform for musicians? But also, do you have any tips for musicians using it?
Oh boy. As far as TikTok goes, as far as it being a platform, I think it's great. We have made so many connections through TikTok, and I've had so many opportunities presented to me and to the band because of TikTok. Like a few weeks ago, uh, someone from TikTok hit me up saying that they were going to be in the DC area and they wanted to interview me to put in their like independent music zine, and that's super cool.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
yeah, it was really fun. We had such a good time. I wish I could remember the name of the magazine. Maybe I'll get back to you on it. But
Yes.
Yeah.
another thing, a few months ago we went on our first tour in the spring, and the show that we played in Philadelphia, I actually met all of those folks, all the other bands that we played with through TikTok. So, Cold Soul is an awesome Philly band. Tragedy and Lower Coaster are all awesome Philly bands that I met through TikTok. They were awesome. Also, the show that we played in New York City were both bands that we discovered on TikTok. So, Madame Daly, who she's amazing, an incredible musician backed by other incredible musicians, and then Smooth Brain, also a rock and pop punk band from New York City and like Jersey. They're sick. They're so good. It was really cool because I felt like we were playing the show, but I felt like I was there as a fan.
Mhm.
So we went to play, we rocked out, we had a great time. But like, when the other bands were playing, I was in the pit, dude. Like I was going crazy.
Oh, I
As far as tips, sorry, I forgot about that part.
no.
Okay. It's like a two-parter.
My only tip is one, try to be consistent, even if that's once a week. Just find some consistency in your schedule that works for you. And then two, actually connect with people. I think a lot of people look at, oh, this is a place that I post and then run away.
Yeah.
But I think that second step of like just chatting with people, taking a few minutes to, say hi in the comments, just be like, if someone comments on your video, I just respond like, hey, thanks, or even, hey, thanks, where are you from? Where would you like to see us play? That kind of thing. Taking that next step, I think, is like the key to connections.
Oh, I love that. I agree because even me, sometimes I'll post something and I'm like, okay, oh great, someone commented. I want to connect. That's what I want to do. Because like I feel like TikTok is that one way, at least on our end, where it's like, oh, people are
Mhm.
seeing it at least, without like Instagram where you have to boost and
Yeah.
things like that sometimes for people to see it. Where TikTok, I post something and if somebody likes it, they can comment it right away. And then there's that instant connection. And it's like, I know we're just a smaller podcast, but it's like, it's nice to have that connection and that quick connection with people. So I can only imagine on your end how that is. Like I loved that about you. Like I think Justine, you commented or whatever. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
they responded. Like, oh my gosh, this is
Yeah.
so great. Usually, like I'm left on red. Like this is
Yeah.
great.
I really like. I kind of feel like the word fan is really weird and disconnected. But when you're starting a band, I think especially in our age right now, you're really building a community.
Mhm.
And building a community is a relationship. You're investing in other people and they're investing their time in you. It's kind of vice versa. Like there are excuse me, there are so many bands out there that just have music. There are so many bands out there posting and putting music out there. I don't think there as are as many bands like making that connection. And I think that's so important.
No, I agree. Like even hearing community, like growing up and going to the basement shows or just my little VFWs wherever, whether it was like punk, pop punk or hardcore, I'm like, I would go to those and I loved that community. And so even starting this with Justine, I was like, I kind of want to build that where like no matter what genre you are, anything, we can all connect and like love music together, no matter where you're from. Like
Mhm.
I love that. And so I love that you said that about community because I miss that. Like I feel like it's still
Yeah.
there, but it's maybe I haven't found my people yet. So I have to like
Like
dig a little bit because I just moved
like
out here to New Jersey a couple of years ago. So it's like I got to find, but it's tough because it's like they're in their own little scene too. And I'm like, oh, okay, hi guys, I'm new. Hi.
I totally understand. So I am from Western Maryland in a tiny little town called Smithsburg, and I moved to the Baltimore area last year to be with my partner.
Mhm.
And I like I know people in the Baltimore music scene, but I feel like I'm still kind of like getting to know the scene itself and
Mhm.
still like trying to make friends and connections. I think that's the same exact thing. And one of the things that I think is really unique about Soul Meets Body community, or Soul Meets Body hotties, as we like to say.
Oh, I love it.
I
Yeah,
love that.
I've been playing music in bands for about 10 years now. And there were so many shows that I went to or that we played or my old bands have played where I was the only like woman there, the only non-man there in general. And I think for a while I thought that made me cool, but then I realized how much I was like mentally isolating myself. And I felt it was really important for us and for Soul Meets Body to put an emphasis on girls, gays, and theys. They're a super important part of our community. And like honestly, I don't know if you know this, but like every other week I've been doing a live on TikTok and I go
Yeah.
live with another band with a girl, gay, or they. And those are just the folks I want to work with. I want to help foster this community of like all these like girls, gays, and theys that just love music. Because I think
Yes.
there's so much of the music scene that's oriented towards dudes, and it's just like frustrating
Mhm.
because if you look at statistically, girls are typically the ones buying t-shirts, concert
Mhm.
tickets. We're the ones like funding, fueling, making this community go.
Oh no, I love that. And
I love that so much.
I watched that last live you did because I was like, oh, like she's going live. And I loved that was a thing. I'm like, why don't more people kind of do that, like and have that. And maybe they do, and I just don't follow them yet. But
Yeah.
I loved seeing that and I loved watching that when it was on. I was like, and that's why I was so excited to have you on. I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. Like I love this live and this is gonna be great. So I
Thank
loved
you
it.
so much for having me. Honestly, I'm stoked to
Yeah.
be here. And all of the lives that I've done so far have been like people I've mostly appreciated from afar. And
Mhm.
I've been like, "Wow, you're so cool. Can we talk?" And like we like don't really chat beforehand. And I feel like every time I come out of it with a new friend, and it's been super cool.
I love
I
that.
love that.
And I mean, talking about soul meets body, something that we do is maybe someone's listening to this and never heard of you. If you could describe your band, say, you're going on the street or you're on the train and you're going up to someone with some headphones, like, and you have 3 words to describe soul meets body. What are your 3 words to describe it?
Oh gosh, I think it would be crusty pop punk because I feel like we're a pop punk band, but we're not like quite so polished. And
Mhm.
I think we kind of take like the unpolishedness of what we're writing and really emphasize that. I usually tell people, like, to get a little further into it, I feel like we sound like Pup, Prince Daddy and the Hyena, and Jeff Rosenstock in a blender.
I
And
love
Mhm.
just like we're slightly more punk than pop in the pop punk. So yeah, I think we're all super diverse in what we listen to, but ultimately we all come together and create this chaotic, magical, crusty pop punk.
I love that because that's one of the things I liked about your sound was although, it's pop punk, I feel like so many can sound so like much the same. Like if I hear,
Mhm.
and I
Yeah.
love like Newfound Glory, I love that old pop punk, but when you get into certain aspects of it, it's like, okay, something different. So when I heard your stuff, I was like, oh, well, this is great because although it does have that pop punk, I definitely heard the pop. I was like, oh, this is why I like it. I
Mhm.
definitely get this. And it was just so great to hear like a sound like that because I don't feel like we have, I mean, maybe we do, and I'm just not into it yet, but especially what I've heard lately from a newer artist or an artist that maybe I heard on TikTok. Just loved your sound.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And you got me blushing over here saying that we sound like Pup
Oh
because
my God, yes.
Yeah.
they're one of my favorite bands for sure. Their last record was so good, but I think the one that really like influenced me a bunch was Morbid Stuff. That album played a huge part in my life and like me sort of like shaping our musical sound. And so it's crazy because we have like another EP on Spotify where we had 5 members, but then 2 left. And they were both guitarists, and they were the ones kind of like really driving the sound. And one of our guitarists, one of the old guitarists, he actually moved on to another band called Keep Your Secrets. They're also great. We're totally good. It was just sort of like, I think I need to go do something different. I think it happens to the best of us, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
But he is a very technical guitarist, super talented. And I think like mentally, I always felt like I needed to lyrically match like his technicality. So if you listen to our old EP, which is just self-titled, I think it's just Soul Meets Body. Um, it's vastly different from what we're putting out now because I don't feel like I have to like super filter myself, super like I don't have to make this idea that I have super intricate. I can just say I don't want to go to work today,
Mhm.
and that's fine.
Being from like Baltimore, DC area, how has the music scene there made an impact on your life and music?
Immensely, immensely. So especially like in my very recent lifetime, back in February, I left my job. I left my like sort of 9 to 5 sort of like marketing assistant job, and and started to do my own thing. And my main source of income right now is actually photography, and I mostly shoot live music. So for the first like month that I had left that job, I wanted to like I was like, what do I do? I was kind of afraid I wasn't gonna be able to pay my bills, but immediately the word started spreading that I was taking photos and I was easily paying my bills. And I'm gonna get emotional over here, but like
Mhm.
I feel very connected to the Baltimore and DC music scenes and the fact that like they people saw me at this vulnerable point and they uplifted me immediately and were so kind. And I am so grateful for the music scene, especially in DC and Baltimore, every single day. Um, it's played a huge part in my life. It's played a huge part in my life. It's brought me to meet my partner. We live together, and through like starting bands and then starting new ones and sort of leaving old ones behind, it's brought me to Soul Meets Body. We started as a different band before, and just because of member changes and stuff, it didn't really feel like that old bands, which ended up forming into Soulmate's Body, which, these people are some of my best friends. So, gosh, that's such a big question, but like it's made such a monumental impact on my life, and I'm super, super grateful.
Oh, I love that. I can really I'm originally from Chicago area, like 30 minutes from, and just hearing you say that, I'm like, I can relate so much because the people that I met in those basement shows, in the little VFWs, and just they would always push me and they're like, Lisa, one day, you're going to do something with music because you love music so much. You're going to do it. And so when I wanted to start the podcast, I met Justine through Loving Circus Survive. So it's like, had all these things not happened because of music, I'm like, I don't know what. Like, I love that life can take you on that. And I love hearing that. That's a scene, that Baltimore scene. I've heard so much about it where I'm like, I have to probably explore that a little bit because I just love hearing about different, like whether it's Philly or even moving here, like Jersey, like everybody, even, just seeing like Chicago, which we knew, like it's like
Yeah.
it's just so
Absolutely.
special.
And if you ever come to Baltimore,
Yeah.
you'll probably hear someone say Smalltimore, because the community is just like so tight knit and small. And to be honest, DC is like a little bit bigger, despite it being like, DC's kind of a small area, but it's pretty jam-packed with people. And then you also have people from Maryland that also go into DC, and then also Virginia that are going into DC to
Mhm.
play shows. It's wild. It's wild.
Mhm.
When did you move to Jersey?
Oh gosh. Well, like I have to think 2016. Oh my God, it's been a
I was gonna
couple.
say you've
Yeah.
been out there for a while.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
moved again. I met my fiance on Instagram because of our brand new tattoos. We both loved brand new. So I'm like, that's a weird life thing where it's like, again, music. I'm like forever into that. And I'm in central Jersey. So I'm near like Asbury Park, all that good stuff where it's like there's always something going on. But I know I
Yeah.
have to get out of my head a little bit and not be like nervous, like, oh, I can walk into these places. Like it's okay if I'm not from here. But it's like, it's that, and Chicago was like my comfort, I would walk into any venue, anybody, and I knew like the security, everybody, it was just so great. And they knew my name. They're like, you're Lisa Lou. And I'm like, here, I'm like, oh God, like I'm in my 30s. Like, how do I talk to people and be like, I like this music too? Like, but, and again, but it is that I feel like it's so special. It's been interesting here because everybody is go, go, go here too on the East Coast. I'm like, oh my God.
Mhm. That's so real. And it's funny that you say that. Um, I think a lot of us walk into spaces and like feel like we don't belong.
Yeah.
But the thing that I try to say at often, all the time at Soulmates Body shows is I try to look everyone in the eye while we're playing, and I say, like, you belong here. You belong here. Like, don't let anyone try to convince you that you're not supposed to be here. You're not like not cool enough for this space. Everyone's coming here with their own baggage. Everyone's coming here with their own stuff. Just like be here and have a good time.
I love that.
I do. I love that. Let's Justine, I think we have to take a trip and go see Soulmate's Body play. That's
I
what we
really
need to
think
go
we
do. That's
should.
what I'm hearing
I
in
think
this.
we should.
That
But I
would
mean,
be awesome. Oh my gosh.
I would love it. And I mean, even talking about Soulmate's Body, it's so funny because when on TikTok, when I saw that, I was like, please tell me there's a Death Cab. There's something to do with Death Cab for Cutie here because I
Yeah.
immediately got it. And then I did a little digging because I told Justine, I was like, I have to do some digging because I've got to see. And I found like there was some interview or something. And it's like, oh, there is. I'm right on about this.
Yeah.
Which I love. And I think too, like one of my favorite songs by you guys is I Don't Want to Go. I love that. That's like my anthem where I am like, especially it's Sunday going into Monday, but just or whether it's work or a party maybe you don't want to go to, maybe an event I have to go to with my fiance where I'm like, I mean, sorry if he's listening upstairs, but like I don't, there's sometimes I don't want to go. Like I don't want to do this. And it's just, I just love that one.
Thank you.
What has been the response to that so far?
So, the response to I Don't Want to Go has been great. People have been bopping it, been jamming it. So, what's crazy is maybe like a month ago, we played a show in DC with a Boston musician called A Day Without Love. and he told me, like, we had been TikTok friends, funnily enough, and he told me in person, you want to know what's crazy? I just started talking to someone on a dating app and they told me to check out your music. Which is
I
crazy.
love that.
Which is crazy. I was like, wow, I'm unifying people. That's sick. Um, but ultimately, I think I talked a little bit about how we used to have a guitarist that was very technical, and I think I got to this point of like sort of releasing this like childlike sort of primal energy. And I think we've all I mean, I don't want to go isn't that deep. It's like, I don't want to go to work today. But ultimately it's about like how capitalism sucks and like how we're all playing this game that we have to play to exist, and it's frustrating. Um, and a lot of those lyrics that are in I Don't Want to Go totally ring true to my life frequently. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I only have $10 in my checking account. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on.
Mhm.
But I think it's just been so unifying because there the unfortunate reality is like everyone at one point has gone into a toxic workplace and has been like, what the fuck? So I think we're all kind of trauma bonding in a way. But people have been really receptive and really cool.
No, it's so funny. And Justine, I know, because I'm looking at you. I'm laughing
Yeah,
because right
it's such
before we
fun.
recorded, I'm going through something where I'm able to finally quit my kind of toxic job I've been in for too long. And I am like, and it's like every day I'm like, even talking to Justine before that, she was, how are you? I'm like, honestly, I'm stressed because, I put my notice in, but it's still just, it's like, they're almost like, are you really? Oh, you can't quit or, like not so much that, but just not expecting that, right? They're expecting me to stay. And it's like, no, like my mental health is going to be so good once I'm out of this. I'm going to focus on
Yeah.
myself. I'm going to do me for the first time, like ever. And Justine's
Mhm.
always like, Lisa, just, you know, do you're doing the right thing. Um, so
You
I,
are so.
Mhm.
so I felt
Yep.
that where I'm like, you know what? It's going to be great. Just have to get over and be like, you know what? You're doing the right thing. You're finally getting out of it. And yeah, so I can relate on all levels to that.
Absolutely. And I wrote I Don't Want to Go in my car on the way to work one day. Honestly, all of our songs I write in the car driving. I don't know why, it just kind of comes to me, but um it was during, lockdown sort of kind of. And I was going to work. I worked in the school system at the time, and I was super frustrated that I was heading there and my car was being janky, and me knowing I had $10 in my checking account, I was like, what am I gonna do? And
Right.
I was really frustrated because I had been at this job for like 6 years and had never gotten a raise.
Mhm.
Wild. If you like
Oh yeah.
telling people that don't work in education, they were like, what? But like
Yeah.
everyone in education that I talked to about this, they're like, yeah, that sounds about right. It's
Yeah.
super frustrating. It's super frustrating.
Oh yeah.
Wild,
Hmm.
wild.
100% because Justine and I being in the early childhood field,
Hmm.
that's the
Yeah.
Mm.
same thing.
We.
People lose their minds when I tell them, I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I haven't gotten a rate 3 years. Yeah. Like, and they're like, what? Or these are the hours, or this is what I do. And then this is what I make. And from it. And I love my
Yes.
job. I love kids. I love it. But it's like, it's just, it's so frustrating.
It's frustrating. It really is. I mean, that's one reason why I left a school to nanny, because it was just, I've been doing this for like a decade and you barely see any kind of profit saying that I've been in this for a decade. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
frustrating.
It's super
Mhm.
frustrating. And what's wild is like just anyone in education is has a similar experience in some way. And when we put out I Don't Want to Go, like I told you I left my job in February. Honestly, if we're being super duper frank here, and
Yeah.
I was demoted at that job,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to stay somewhere where I wasn't valued, so I ended up leaving. And it all kind of worked out that I like left, and then this song comes out, and it was kind of like cathartic, like getting it all out, just being like but,
Mhm.
but yeah, for real
Oh,
talk, dude.
oh, I love it. That's what I have to listen to tomorrow when I'm going in, and just be like, all right,
Mhm.
I will, after this
Pump yourself
conversation,
up
just
with it.
go. Yeah, for sure, because it's the same play. Like when you're not valued, it is. And it's like it took me a while to just be like, you know what? All right, I can't. I'm in a situation right now where I can. I know there's so many that also can't, due to financial reasons. They have to stick with a job. And I get that. But I'm in a point where I'm like, okay, this is good. It's like a new me, new everything. And it's gonna make me love the song even more now, like when I'm listening to it. So
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see where you're headed next. And like this is
Mhm.
gonna be so good for you. Heck yeah. Get out
Yeah.
of that toxic workplace if you can.
Yes,
Totally do it.
100%.
What has been the proudest moment with your band so far?
Ooh, that's really tough. Um, that's really tough. Honestly, so before, okay, I'm gonna fast forward a few years. Right before the pandemic started, we had our two members left, and we kind of were like, okay, guess we're not a band anymore. Guess we're not gonna do this. And then, everything shut down. And I think during that, me and my two other dudes, we all kind of had this epiphany that we needed to play music to be happy, and we started writing. And I kind of called them both up, and I was like, do you still want to do this with me? Like, do you hate my guts, like, after everything that happened? And they were like, no, let's do this. um and we played our first show after a 3-year hiatus last year, actually almost a year exactly. And we've been hitting the ground running ever since. And I think it's hard for me to pinpoint one moment when we've only really been taking this seriously for about a year. But that being said, it's just so amazing to me to see our community grow in the past year, and how many wonderful friends that we've made, and how many soulmates, body hotties there are out there. I like I said before, I really like I we write music about our experiences, but ultimately I really want these songs to unify people. I really want to, like, especially the girls, gays, and theys out there. They're the folks that I ride or die for, you know what I'm saying? And it's just crazy to see all of our growth. And it's not, and I don't want to make this about numbers, but I guess it's a way to measure, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
When I started our TikTok last year, we had, I don't know, 100-ish followers. And now we have almost 6,000. And it's and not that like, again, I don't want to make this about numbers as much as it is about like me being stoked about this community
Yeah.
growing, and how we can like connect with each other about these things. And I'm so grateful. It's been so amazing. It's hard to pinpoint. I can't really name one moment. Our tour that we did a few months ago was super cool. But I'm really looking forward to what that's gonna look like for us in, the rest of this year and into next year, because we've got some big things planned.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that, because Justine and I were talking the other day, because for some reason, even in our numbers, we've gotten like a couple more subscribers, and it's not about the numbers. I keep it, I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't, but again, it's that building of like, wow, somebody is finding something for them, whether it's the
Yeah.
connection of music and mental health, and they're getting something from it. And that's so cool. And I'm so glad to see people with your band are catching on, because that's why I'm so glad to have you on too, because if someone's never heard of you, it's like, oh, like, what's this? Like, so many people, anyone else we've had on, they've checked it out and like, oh, good, good. Check this band out, please, please.
I am really honored that y'all asked me to be here.
Mhm.
I mean, part of the reason I really wanted to join y'all today is because mental health is something that's super near and dear to my heart. And I have certainly been through the ringer, like a lot of us have. And I think the best way to destigmatize that is to just chat about it, just to openly talk about it for sure.
Oh, great. Awesome. And it's like even with the music, I mean, what obviously music is important in your life. Are there any artists specific that have made a really big impact on your life?
Oh my God, yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like I am kind of seasonal and I go through phases.
Oh,
I think that's pretty, that's pretty normal.
Yeah.
yeah.
But overall, I think I'm gonna first state Lizzo.
Mhm. Yes.
Yes.
She is a trailblazing, world-changing, like different kind of artist. And I think what makes her different is that she is very open about her struggles and then also standing up for like her own community, but also other communities. I
Mhm.
saw Lizzo a few weeks ago when she was in Baltimore. It was so fun. Had
Oh,
a great time. I have
Oh
to
my
shout out to Lizzo first and foremost. She's incredible. She's an amazing musician, and she's always like, even after all of her success, I see her all the time putting seeds out for the community and to put it back into the community that has supported her as well. So Lizzo first. My first band love was My Chemical Romance.
oh, yes.
Right.
Yes.
I feel like MCR fans are like these ravenous fucking human beings, and we all know it, and we're all on the
Yep.
same like wavelength. It's absolutely wild. Yeah, I got into MCR when I was in the seventh grade, and they've been one of my favorite bands ever since. Gosh, yeah, that was a huge turning point as far as like getting into music, and as diverse as they are as a band, and also seeing Gerard grow as the person that they are has
Yes.
been so beautiful. And from the beginning, I remember, like, I don't know, is this like a little like spicy for this, but I remember seeing like photos of Gerard and Frank like making out on stage because they wanted to make the statement that like there's
Yes.
nothing wrong with like being yourself. That, yeah,
Yes.
that was huge to me. And like me as a young queer person seeing that, I think maybe I
Mhm.
fangirled over it for a second, but then like as I got older and realized what they were actually doing, I was
Yeah.
like, whoa! And which
Mhm.
is why I think a lot of MCR fans are queer people or allies.
Mhm. Yep.
And then I got a shout out Paramore, another huge
Mhm.
band for me. People say that we sound like them all the time, but like I would be lying if I said that they had no influence when they were like a huge influence on me. I think I so weird thing. I did not think that women could be in pop punk bands until I saw
Mhm.
Paramore.
Yep.
Mhm.
I don't
I
know
think that was
why.
for a lot of us. Yeah.
Right. I don't
Yeah.
know why I didn't make that connection, but like I once I saw like them doing it, I was like, oh,
Mhm.
I could do this. I thought I could, back in my, middle school brain, I thought that I could only ever aspire to like, so much. But then I saw them doing it. I was like, whoa. So Paramore has played a huge role in my life. And gosh, there's a lot of artists that I really love, but I think I'll just keep it at those three for right now.
Oh, I do. Just hearing that too. I mean, we've had talks
Yeah.
too about we went on like a My Chem rant. There was I don't even know what we were talking about at the time, but we went
Well, I
on
bring them up a lot. So to be
right.
fair, I do
But
bring them up a lot.
it was just how great they are and what great
Yeah.
allies they are. And I kept saying like we're in such a time where if you're in the crowd and to see someone like Mike Hem who are larger than life again, it's crazy how big and I'm happy for that. And to be in the crowd and being like, wow, like somebody gets me. I have a place here. Like
Mhm.
I'm excited. And like I just I'm like that those young fans, young or old, because I loved My Chem forever, and or even Paramore is the same way. They're I mean,
Totally.
all three of those artists
Yeah,
are
all of
so
them.
amazing, and
Yeah.
that they do that. I'm like, oh, that's what I love. I love that.
You want to know what's wild about MCR? So I bought tickets for their tour right before lockdown started,
Yeah.
and held on to them for like 2, 3
I did
years.
too.
Longer. Did you? Oh my gosh.
I was supposed to see them in Riot Fest that year, and then
Yeah.
lockdown happened. And
Yes.
then the year after, they didn't want to play yet. And so they were like, if you were only going for them, you could hold on your tickets till that year. So I held on to my tickets for like, oh my gosh, what was that, Lisa? Last year they finally I
Yeah,
got to
last year, I know, I'm so jealous.
yeah. So like I held on to those tickets for that long because they were the reason I was going. And it was amazing because
Totally. So I saw MCR in New Jersey, and because I had held on to my tickets so long, I had like a super nosebleed ticket, but then it got upgraded because I held on to it for a
nice.
while.
That's
And
amazing.
right, wasn't expecting that. But the cool part of this was one, when I like got my like ticket seats and sat down, I started chatting with the people next to me, and one, they were about almost 10 years younger than I am. And then two, we were from the same hometown. And
Oh
I drove
wow.
to New Jersey to
That's
like
Wow.
for this
amazing.
show, which is crazy, which is absolutely nuts. So I was talking to these, I guess young adults who were chatting with me about MCR, and I'm bawling, like, they're playing. I'm like, like looking like a damn mess. And like one of them like puts their arm around me while I'm like sobbing. And I'm like, you get it, dude. You totally get it. They were like so sweet. We ended up like becoming Instagram friends. It was such a cool full circle moment. Oh, and then also at the same show, the wildest thing happened to me. So Thursday opened up for them.
Oh,
And right?
oh,
Mhm.
love.
They're sick. They're so sick, right? And I had
Yes.
never seen them before, but I was psyched. And I know a bunch of their songs, and they came on, they started playing. And I think I was like the only one in my row for some reason, like going nuts.
Hmm.
And this woman behind me taps on my shoulder after Thursday plays, and she's like, "Hey, so do you really like Thursday?" And I'm like, yeah, I've been a big fan for a long time. I actually got into them because of MCR, and
Yeah.
I'm explaining, and she's like, "Oh, that's cool. The guitarist is my son."
What?
Oh
Oh
wow.
my God.
That's so cool.
So we had she was so sweet, and I was just like chatting with her. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing. You must be so proud." And she was the sweetest. And then MCR like closed the show. And of course I'm bawling. And she was so sweet. She like tapped on my shoulder again. She was like, "It was so nice to meet you." And but we're heading out because we're trying to beat the traffic. And I go to shake her hand, and I do, and then I realize that my hand is wet with my tears because it's just
Oh my
stopping.
gosh.
Oh my God. Oh, I love that. I was supposed to go to that show. And
Were
then
you?
I
Oh my
wanted
gosh.
to go, but this is gonna sound like I don't want to sound like elitist or anything, but I could not afford anything but the nosebleed. And I was
Mhm.
like, even for the nosebleed, the prices, I was like,
Yeah,
I'm like, I can't. I love all those bands. I love My Chem. I love Thursday. But I was like, I can't afford it right now. And
totally.
I'm kicking myself because other people, as it got closer, I know things became a little more affordable. And I'm like, I should have just, it was one of those things I should have just been like, who cares? Just go see Thursday, go see My Chem. Cause I can't even think of the last time they all played together. Like
Yeah.
I don't even know when that
That
was.
was
So I'm,
ever ago.
oh,
It was absolutely insane. And I have totally been there. There's absolutely been bands that have passed through Baltimore or DC that like, I really want to see them, but like I just couldn't afford to do it. I actually, no lie, this is zero cap for you right now. I saw Paramore like a month ago in
oh,
DC. They're amazing, of
oh,
course. Um,
Oh yeah.
I dropped like $400.
Oh, it's expensive. They're
it's
playing in St.
crazy.
Louis tonight, and I really wanted to go, and my boyfriend
Oh,
really wanted to take me, but it's so the price is so expensive.
they were well,
It's
what
just
I don't know if this is true everywhere, but from what I've learned is that if you go to the box office the day of the show, you can get relatively like affordable tickets. I think I just really, really wanted like pit tickets so
Yeah.
bad. So I was like,
Yeah.
I have to have this. So rest in peace to me and put it on the credit card. It's fine.
Right. That's so
Yeah.
I'm kicking myself with that's how I was with the Turnstile and Blink 182 tour, because I was
Mhm.
like, but I refused, and my brother-in-law, I was like, I'm sorry, I refuse to sit in the rafters for a show like that. I would have to be
Oh,
pit. And
Yeah.
he's like, oh, come on. But I'm like, but they're $900 at Madison Square Garden. And I'm like, no, like, see that? I was like, I can't, but
yeah.
I was like, I have to be in the pit for that. I don't want to
Yeah.
sit in a seat up in the rafters and see, like,
The
Turnstile and Blink
Yeah.
that big.
Exactly.
Turnstile
Yeah.
is from like DC-ish
Yeah.
area. And they played like a random show at like a tiny venue in Baltimore. Gosh, like a month or two ago. And I was like, yes. And I think everyone and their mom tried to get those tickets. No one,
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
like 3 people got, it's like maybe like a 250 or 3 cap venue.
Oh, wow.
Um, like none of my friends got in. We all tried,
Mhm.
but that would have been such a sick show. It's a really cool little intimate venue.
Oh, wow. Oh, that would have been so cool. That would have been one of those. But I'm sure, like you said, like everybody and their mother is trying
Yeah.
to get into this. I know they played Lollapalooza last year, and they played a really tiny, a similar room. I mean, subterranean Chicago has to be, I don't know, maybe even 200 downstairs. I don't know, it was tiny, and they played it, and everybody got tickets. They sold out immediately, and then people were waiting to get in. All my friends that went, they're like, "But if you got in, it was the most incredible show ever of your life. If you got in," I'm like, "Oh well, like
Dang.
what? Like
Maybe
200
one of
only?"
these days I'll go see them.
Oh, for sure. Oh, I love them. I think they're so great live, and I think it's crazy that now they're playing with Blink, and I'm sure maybe that'll help expand them a little bit. But I saw them before last fall. They played at the Stone Pony, like, outside stage, and that didn't even sell out. And it's crazy to think that, like, who knows where they're going to go. So that's just so amazing.
Yeah, they put out Dream On and then they blew up and it's I don't know, I think it's well deserved
Oh yeah. Oh,
for sure.
absolutely.
So we obviously showcase the importance of mental health. What does mental health awareness mean to you, and how important is it to you?
Wow. What does mental health mean to me? Dude, that mental health has played or investing in my own mental health, let me say that, has played such a huge role in my life. Um, as I've grown older and gotten to know myself better, I feel like it's like it's like I didn't know how to take care of myself. And then when I started to like invest in my own mental health and learn more about myself, it was like I had never taken a breath before. And then I finally was able to take the deepest, most refreshing breath of life. Um, I think mental health is different for everyone. Like there are some things that I do in my routine that like help me that might not necessarily help the next person. But I think a lot of times mental health is sold to us as like you do one thing and then you're better. But I really do think investing in your own mental health and sort of giving yourself that graciousness is a lifelong journey. And I think that was a tough lesson for me to learn, especially when I was a young adult and I was like, I'm going to therapy. Oh, I went to an outpatient program. Why aren't I better?
Mhm.
Not realizing that, like, we're sort of given this idea that if we do one thing, we'll be better. But in reality, I think mental health is a lifelong investment. People are not machines. I feel like we're more like gardens, and the fact that, one day we're going to need more of one thing than the other, sort of like maybe a plant might need a little bit more sunlight, as opposed to water one day. It just really depends on what we need. And I think people are like that. I had a slug day today. I think I mentioned that, where I do nothing. And I think that's a part of mental health is just sort of checking yourself where you are and being like, okay, what can I do for myself? How can I show up for myself today? It's played such a huge role in my life, and music especially has been a big part of my mental health journey because one, I feel like it helps me process stuff. And then two, I've kind of learned that I am not a happy person if I'm not playing music. So yeah, mental health is hugely important to me. It's something that I invest in every day because I think we all deserve to show up for ourselves.
I love that. And I think that's
Yeah.
so, it's something that we all need to hear. I know myself included. Like, I don't always show up for myself. I always put myself last on anything and shouldn't be that way. Or I think I need to implement a slug day at times. I do because I'm always like, go, go, go. And that's not good either. It's good to have. So I think that's one of the things I love about this podcast. Any guest we have that has said something, it's like, wow, I can try that. Maybe I'll try that. Or, oh, this isn't working. Oh, they said whether it was exercise or they went on walks or they did their art or, it just so many things. I'm like, that's what's so great. I feel like anyone listening is like, oh, you know what? Like that's such a great message.
Totally. And there are, I think as we grow older and get to know ourselves better, like we sort of figure out where our weaknesses are. So, for example, I mentioned I'm a photographer, but
Yeah.
last week I had an art show, which I was really excited about, but it was just like kind of stressful putting everything together. And oh my gosh, look at your cat. What a cutie. Um, and there were things that I wasn't doing that are normally in my routine for mental health. But I
Mhm.
think like again, we're like gardens, we're not like machines. I think at that time I needed to put some other stuff aside while I could mentally focus on this. And I've learned actually recently that my weakness right now is asking for help because I've realized that at least in my household, I all last week I was making a mess everywhere because I was like matting all of my photos and cutting them out and doing all this framing everything. And I kept going to my partner and saying, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, it's such a mess around here. I'm sorry, I'm a failure, like that kind of thing, when I should have said, hey, I really need some help. And I think that's where my struggle is, and that's something I'm working on, just being like, I need some more help with this because yeah. Because sometimes we need some help, and I think that's like a really hard lesson to learn.
No, it is. And I
Yeah.
just even hearing you say that, there's a situation last week where I was, there was a lot going on. And had I maybe just stopped and been like, instead of saying maybe like, oh, I'm an idiot for starting this thing and it's some big mess and that, just instead of even saying that, it's, hey, can you stop whatever and help me? I need help. And that's my number one thing that I need to work on too. So I can relate to that a lot.
Absolutely. And like everyone needs help at some point. I mean, it sounds silly to say out loud, but I think we have
Yeah.
a lot of, excuse me, pressure, especially on ourselves to like be this like strong, perseverant person when like especially if we all have a lot on our plate, asking for help is the easiest way to alleviate some of that. So, heck yeah, keep asking for help. Honestly, we deserve the peace of mind. And if we're the people that we're asking for help truly care about us, they're gonna find a way to make it help or at least meet you in the middle.
I love that. And someone
Mhm.
listening to that is going to hear that because oh, there's so many things you're saying where I'm like, oh, I can't wait for this to come out. And for you too, I know something I saw on your TikTok that made me just like, oh, I can't wait to talk to her too, is when you had made a post about how Karen O, my queen, Karen O from the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, was an inspiration for so I was like, she is just everything to me and so much more. How
Thank
has
you.
her, whether it's her presence, her music, who she is as a person, how has that made an impact on you?
Oh my God. I want to So performance wise, a ton. I
Yeah.
feel like she is so energetic live. And then also on top of that, she is so unapologetically herself and she lives as her art. I value that so much, and watching her perform, like I haven't seen Yeah Yeah Yeahs yet, but I need to go. I need to go right now. I'm
Same. I
heading out
have
the
not.
door. But gosh, such a huge role. Their music, like Yeah Yeah Yeahs, is so like fluid. Looking back at all their albums, I feel like, yeah, they kind of have that indie rock sound, but like there's such a vast variety of what they write. I think they just like, they don't even restrict it, they just sort of put it out. Like recently I've been on a Mosquito kick. Like that whole album has just been, I don't know, really big for me recently. Also, if you follow us on TikTok, I post to friends only, and I'll put like songs that I'm working on and stuff. So, but yeah, Karen O has played like a huge role and inspiration in like performance especially. And I think like I'm getting to a point musically where like, yeah, I think like the band, we have like a style, but I'm not worrying so much about like, oh, it has to sound like this, other than just like putting the creative juice in and then just letting it run free, you know?
When I saw that, I was like, oh, yes, of course. This is why another reason I like your band. I'm gravitating because it's like Karen O, when we were doing our 20-year records and how I was just like, Fever to Tell is 20 years. I completely blew my mind that it was turning 20 years. And Justine's like, Lisa, you love Karen O. You love the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. Why aren't you talking about this? I'm like,
Yeah,
I had no
she
idea. Just
almost
the net
forgot to talk about it. I was like,
that and I'm like, they're a band I've never been able to see, and they're on my bucket list. So I'm hoping somehow, some way we can all see them because they're
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like they've made such a unique ripple in like the music timeline. And it was kind of wild for me in like 2016 hearing Beyonce reference Yeah Yeah Yeahs in the album Lemonade. Also, if you haven't listened to Lemonade, you should absolutely listen to Lemonade. But Beyonce, like in that like second song of Lemonade, like she sings "They Don't Love You Like I Love You," and I was like, ah, it like my whole life came full circle. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It was crazy.
I don't know how I didn't catch that because I know what you're talking about, and that song. I don't know how I didn't put the two together because I love Lemonade too. I love that record.
Yes.
And I cannot imagine. Well, now after this, I got to listen to it again and be like, wow, how did you not see this?
What's wild is like that record was like hugely influential to me because when it came out, I like had just gone through a breakup.
Mhm.
So of course, all the like pieces coming together. And
Yep.
for those of y'all at home that don't know, that whole album is about Jay-Z cheating on her and her
Mhm.
being like, "Go fuck yourself, I'm a bad bitch." Essentially the theme of the album. But it's so good. It's also visual, and in the visual album, there is that gosh, what's the name of that song? I think it might be in Hold Up. And she goes around and like is just smashing things with a baseball bat. And we put out a song in 2019. It's called How Dare You? And our music video was actually like referencing that Beyonce video because I'm going around smashing stuff with a baseball bat. Because it was just like it was a big influence. It was a big influence for sure.
I feel like we could talk about that all day because I do.
I love
That tour, I'm like, I wish I would have seen that tour where she had with Lemonade and how anyone I know that has seen that, they were like, it was an experience, a theatrical experience. I was like,
that. Real.
I missed out. I
Yes.
missed out. That's another tour. Like, I don't care. That would have been like, put it on the credit card and go. Like, just experience
Real.
that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Beyonce, I fucking love that bitch. She's amazing. I think as I've gotten older too, I've gotten a lot more into pop music. And I used to be one of those people that like, you know, pop music is stupid, but I couldn't have been more wrong, to be
Mhm.
totally honest with you.
I
Yeah.
think we come back full circle because I grew up listening to like Backstreet Boys, the quintessential 90s pop. Then I got into my like more rebellious stage and it was like I can't listen to pop at all. It's not who I am, it's not what I'm about. And now that I'm an adult, I'm coming back to some pop music. So thank goodness, because I probably would have missed Lizzo and like all of that if I didn't come back around. So
And I'm also a huge like K-pop stan as well. I don't know. I think like musically there's a lot of stuff that goes on that's so interesting that I like listen to this and I'm like, "Oh, I can see where they did this and did that." K-pop is so interesting because they like stick three genres in one song. It's really cool. I think it's really cool. And then like visually it's just so well thought out. It just blows my mind.
I love
my
that.
boyfriend just introduced me to baby metal recently because he was like, okay, you don't know who this is. You need to. So he put on some videos for me, and I was like, okay, I might be interested in this. Like
I feel like baby metal, like maybe not now because I feel like their stuff is more serious, but maybe 10 years ago they probably would have written it an I don't want to go type of song. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because they have
yeah,
that song
definitely.
that's like give me chocolate because I just want chocolate. And honestly,
That sounds
same,
like
so relatable. I really
right.
want chocolate, get out of my way.
Exactly. What do you think needs to change in the music industry slash scene for women? We've definitely made progress, but it's still very much a boys' club.
Okay. That's a very good question and something that I think about often. What needs to change? I think women is like just a part of this like issue that we're facing because I think another part of this is like how the scene, at least my experience, the rock scene is mostly white people.
Yeah.
I think this
Yes.
all kind of ties together. I think we need to be
I,
making more space for Black women and trans women. And
yes.
like that's the key to sort of like making all of this come together. And I also think we need to also speak on non-binary folks and
Yes.
gender non-conforming folks. I think we need to make more space for marginalized people. Yeah, I think that that's like the main thing. As far as how to do that, I am not really sure other than to like make sure that we're booking diverse shows and trying to make sure that like our shows look like how the world is because the world isn't just white people, the world isn't
Mhm.
just white men, right?
Yes.
It's so much more diverse than that, and I think our bills should be, and by our bills like our shows, the shows that are set up should be reflecting that.
Yes, absolutely. I love that you put it like that because I am very like inclusive. I can't even say that word, like inclusivity forward.
Mm-hmm.
Like I tried my best to like be as inclusive in every manner as I possibly can, but like we have so much to go with everything.
Totally. And me as a white person, I think racism and sexism and transphobia, homophobia is just very instilled in our society. And
Yes.
like I think there's absolutely been times where I have like said racist things or said
Mhm.
homophobic things or transphobic things, but like
Yes.
didn't have the knowledge. And
Mhm.
I I think I got to this point recently where I've been learning a lot from TikTok and
Yeah.
I want to I've learned that sometimes that what I was doing to try to be inclusive was actually like not inclusive. It was more like show offy, like look at
Yeah.
how inclusive I am. Um
Yeah.
when I should have been making the focus on others as opposed to like, look at me, I'm so good at this. But I don't know. I think I got to this point where like I saw this TikTok that basically said like, is your allyship performative? And it was
Yeah.
yeah, it talked about like, are you in your allyship for what reason? And I think it was like, well, I want to be a good person. Well, we all want to be good people,
Mhm.
but like I had to shift my perspective and think about it a little bit deeper and realize that like trying to be a good person isn't like it's performatism.
Yeah.
So I think I ended up on this, for me, I think marginalized people deserve better lives, period.
Yes, absolutely.
And I, now that I've tried to make that my focus, I think it's kind of helped me to think a little bit more outside of myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how you put that, because I think that's something really important to talk about as well, is like coming to the realization as a white person, knowing that when we're younger, sometimes there is some of that where you might have said something racist or been included in some kind of a joke or any
Sure.
of that. It's pretty normal, unfortunately. And it takes growing up, sometimes going to a different place. Like, I came from a really small town, like incredibly small in the middle of Illinois. And it was an incredibly racist town. And it wasn't until I moved over to St. Louis that my eyes really started opening up. I was starting to be exposed more to everything going on. And it helped me come to the realization of like some of the situations growing up that were wrong. Um, there is a lot of room for growth, but it does take that of like perspective of seeing what is harmful and what is not, and how to use your privilege. And I think really important. And yeah.
Yeah, the unfortunate reality is like there's a lot of that intertwined in our like society, and I too also came from a small town, and I don't know. I think there are some things, especially growing up, that I realized looking back, like, whoa, that was super fucked up, dude.
Yeah, no,
And
100%.
I I I think I even realized it more as I became an adult. And we talked about working in education. I worked in
Yeah.
high school. I worked in high schools for a long time, and you know, the ways that, you know, I was watching these teenagers talk to each other, and I had to like interject. I'd be like, what are you saying, my guy? Like, stop, cut it out. Like, do you know why that's bad? And it's hard kind of being that person sometimes, and but like we have to, or it's gonna keep going.
Yeah, I know. It's just all we can do is learn and grow. And I think some of that takes seeing what was wrong. You know what I mean?
Or
And but also making room for changing it and recognizing to change it. You know,
sure,
we
definitely.
have some ways to go, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so to answer your question, I don't know if I
Yeah.
have an easy answer, but I think like uplifting women is important, but I
Yeah.
think it's more than just women. I think it's like putting a focus on Black women and trans women. And because when we uplift those folks, we're lifting everyone.
Yes. No, I think you answered that perfectly.
I think that's super important, and I think that
Mhm.
should be the forefront of every music scene.
Yes. No, I 100% agree. You did great with that question.
Yeah. Again, another thing, I'm like, I can't wait to have someone listen to that back. And it's
Yes.
like, that's
Yeah.
so great. And you're one of the first people I think that we talked to that has really put that out there, which, you know, again, we all have a way to go, but I love that it's going to be out there for that, because I couldn't agree more. There's so much more work to be done in that. And, you know, even I look at like Magnolia Park on their TikTok, and they're constantly talking about things they face as their band. And it's just wild to think we're still there, you know, like we've come a long way, but there's still just so much more work to do.
Yeah. I I am super grateful for TikTok, not only for the community, but for how much I've been able to learn. And
Mhm.
one of those, I'm not very confrontational. And one of the ways that I've kind of learned to send a message without being like hostile is to say, that's a really weird thing to say out loud. So
Yes.
that's sometimes if someone says something to me and it's like, you know, whack. I can be
Yeah.
like, that's a really weird thing to say out loud, dude. Like, why would you say that?
Mhm.
Or another phrase that I've learned is, I'm not the person that you should be talking to this about. It's a way to like send a message to say that like, hey, what you're saying is fucked up without like getting hostile, getting crazy. So
Yeah.
Oh, I love that because I'm the same way. I don't really like confrontation. I don't like whether it's in person or like on the internet if I post something or someone doesn't agree. And I love that. I think I'm going to take that a little bit and be like, Genevieve, you told us this. So I'm going to do,
Sure.
I love this. I love it.
I think it's so important to like have these conversations. You know, as like especially, you know, all of us are white people, so like there's going to be other people around us that are going to make assumptions about us just based
Mhm.
on the way that we look. And I
Yeah.
think shutting down that behavior in conversation is so important because that's like how that whole gross mindset spreads and how it
Yeah.
continues to stay alive is like people joke about it, and it's you got to say something even if it is just like, why would you say that out loud?
Yeah. It's you gotta
Totally.
nip it in the bud. You gotta shut it down.
Totally.
Well, I love that. And I guess too, to kind of, I guess if somebody is listening to this too, and I know you touched on it a little bit before and earlier, but if someone is struggling to find an outlet that works for them for their mental health, what do you kind of recommend them do, like on your own journey and your mental health journey that has kind of helped you find something like, say, your normal go-to isn't working? Like, what do you kind of look to do to help yourself on those mental health days or where you're just like, it's all caving in?
I have had the like privilege to be able to go to like different therapists, to be honest. And a good therapist told me once that you shouldn't have just one outlet. You should have multiple outlets for times where like your one outlet isn't working or you don't have access to it.
Yeah.
So, um, and again, I want to reiterate that like what I do isn't necessarily going to work for everyone. Everyone is different. We're all gardens, right? We're all different types of plants. We all need different soils. We all need different water, sunlight, that kind of thing. Personally, I stick to a routine most of the time, and that's a really good way for me to like just make sure I have everything in order. Something that like stresses me out a bunch, one is like time management. That's something that I struggle with. So it's me sticking to a routine has been really helpful, especially now that I like work for myself and I am like feel like I'm sometimes I feel like I'm like, am I working? Am I not working? So
Mhm.
I have to like stick to a little bit of a routine. It's not always necessarily timed, but also some days I have to like wake up and just feel the vibe and see how I'm feeling. Honestly, as a neurodivergent person, there's some days where I can like go outside and like walk and jog 2 miles, but there are some days where I'm like, I can't do that. I'm gonna sit inside and do yoga and stretch. Or there's even some days I can't even do that, where
Yeah.
it's like I'm gonna just like chill on my couch and have a slug day and do nothing. Yeah, my biggest advice is to just like listen to your body. Everyone's in different circumstances. I can't again I don't feel like I can give good advice that's like for everybody.
Mhm.
I am going to encourage people out there listening to be open and try different things, because you might not have access to that one thing in a moment of need. So it's good to have multiple things lined up for you if you need to like, you know, get something out, whether that's drawing. Again, I write music, of course, and then I also like I go out and exercise. I find that's helpful for my peace of mind. And then also having a slug day, that's also good for my peace of mind. Sometimes I just need to turn off like my phone, no notifications. I am only watching K-dramas, go away.
Oh, I just love that. And again, we thank you so much for coming on with us and hanging in here on this Sunday night. This has been so awesome. And I guess if somebody is listening too, where like what's kind of going on with Soul Meets Body? I know you got some shows coming up.
Sure.
And then other than that, like where can they find you website wise? Like if they're checking you out and they're like, I love her as much as we love you, where can they find you?
Oh my gosh. So what Solmi's Body is up to, we have some shows coming up. Right now we're staying local. We're playing a DC show on August 6th, and then we're playing another DC show on August 31st. Um, we are in the process of mixing 2 singles. They're almost done, which is really exciting, and hopefully putting out an EP very, very soon. Hopefully October. Don't quote me on that. But it's almost done. We're putting out new music super, super soon. It's going to be super cool. As far as websites, we don't really super have an official one. We have a Square site. We're trying to buy new t-shirts. If you want to support us, it would be really, really cool if you went to our Square website, which is soulmatesbodyband.square.site. Please pick up a shirt. We have shirts, we have hats. Or if you just want to donate to us, if you like, oh dang, I have $5. I'm like, cool. We also shout people out that donate to us on our website, on social media. So if you're interested in that, we would love that. We're also trying to buy a van so that we can go everywhere. And we are on Instagram at Soulmates Body Band. We are on TikTok at Soulmates Body Band. We have a Facebook, but I think I look at it like once a month, to be totally honest with you.
Same.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's Facebook. Yeah.
For real, for real. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. This has just been so great. Like I know the minute Justine sent me the profile and then just looking and then listening, I'm like, oh, this is what it's all about. And like having that platform and meeting people like you that just have so many important things to say. And I can't wait for this one to go out. I know it's gonna be another one that I'm like, it's gonna go out early, Justine. We're gonna get it out.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna hit so many people. It's gonna be wonderful. You've said so many good things tonight.
Heck yeah. Thanks so much for having me.
And that was our conversation with Genevieve Moore of Soulmates Body. I hope you really enjoyed this one. I know Justine and I did, and it was such a treat to get Genevieve to come on finally, and we just loved this one. So I hope you did too. Remember, you can head over to their website at soulmeetsbodyband.square.site. They've got some cool shirts there. You can donate to the band like Genevieve noted in this episode. So make sure to support all these bands that come on if you can. It's truly how we keep our scene going. Also, because I also know you guys want to become a Soul Meets Body hottie. I mean, come on, don't we all? So remember to go check that out. Again, thanks for listening to this. And you can also check us out at Instagram at stereo.therapy. We'll have all the links posted below where you can find Genevieve and find her amazing band. And we will see you guys bright and early next Tuesday. All right, bye guys.